What's up, gang? Welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde. I'm flying solo today, and we're going to be talking about some very important things around how to live the best life without getting too caught up in the wins and the losses. Okay. And I want to tell you a quick story about, when I was, I guess this is 05. So I'd have been like 27, 28 years old. And I had this moment in my business. I had this office, this corner office. The business was thriving at this point, probably had like 50, 60 employees. This is my first business, Twin. And I remember I put my feet up on the desk. It was like the first time in my life I felt like, man, things are going really well. This is like the best the company had ever done. We were thriving. We were making a lot of money. And I remember I put my feet up on the desk and there was this like sinking suspicion that I had that things were going to, like, this was as good as it was going to get and that I was about to get punched in the face. And that's exactly what happened. And so this reminds me of a quote. I can't remember what happened, but the business was like, I had a lot of like fundamental issues on how I was growing the business, and the bad stuff that happened was really like, just intra fighting in the departments and process breakdown, and just, I was just an inexperienced entrepreneur. So I didn't know what I didn't know. It set me on this journey to learn how to scale companies, which ended up serving me really, really well. And I ended up, doing some very cool things with that knowledge, growing my next business, and even what we're doing now with our new business in private equity. But yeah, there's a moment where I was like, I'm the best. And then I was very disappointed right when I had to deal with problems right after that. And so I heard a quote the other day that reminded me of that moment, which is a quote that I want you to think about for yourself right now, which is, life is never as good or as bad as it seems at the time. So I'll repeat that again. Life is never as good or as bad as it seems at the time. And so for myself, how I approached this, like, I never really thought of it like that. For me, I was always very, very, very invested in the outcomes. And this has been up until probably the last couple of years. I was very invested in the outcome. So when things were going really well, I felt a very specific way, which was I felt like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't lose this. So I was always like, the minute things would go well in my business, I put my guard up waiting for it to go away, because I didn't want it to go away. I was enjoying it, and it was like a trigger for me. The minute things went well, I was like, oh, we're going to lose this. It's going to go away. Don't get too complacent. Don't get too happy. Don't get too comfortable here. So I took the not getting comfortable to such an extreme that I could never enjoy the wins at all, because I was afraid of them going away, instead of just savoring the moment, right? Knowing that, it probably is going to go away, right? Because things are never as good or as bad as they seem. And so if it's not as good as it seems, I'm like, then yeah, it's fine. It's just, this is just the outcome we have at the moment, right? Vice versa. I had these moments where things were going badly, and it felt like they were never going to get better. And I was so miserable. I would be so miserable when I was dealing with those hard times, because in my mind, it was like, oh my God, this is the worst. Fatality's coming. It's going to never get better. I can't deal with this hardship. And we do this as humans, by the way. We have this negativity bias where we get stuck, at least some people. I think the people that are more enlightened and have more of an awakening towards, equanimity and just kind of like being with what is, maybe don't feel this way. So the one person out there listening to this that feels that way, good for you. And for everyone else, that's the destination, right? When we start to not be attached to the outcomes, it allows for us to not be attached to the good or the bad. When the bad happens, it's this opposite thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, this is bad, and like, or I don't enjoy the moment. Like, what can I do to make it better, right? because again, things are never as good or as bad as they seem. And so in my next business at the Money Source, the business really took off like a rocket ship. And I remember the minute this happened, I was like, uh-oh, I don't want to lose this moment. And I was very vigilant to make sure it didn't go away. Inevitably it does, because things are always temporary. But I never got to enjoy the moment. I never got to savor the moment because I was so stuck in worrying about it not existing in the future and wanting to have this perpetual positive experience. And what I would have to say is that, like, living a life like that can be really frustrating because we are constantly worrying about losing the things that we are enjoying, and we're constantly worried about being stuck in the negative moments of the time. And the reality is it's neither one of those things. Because I'll give you a perfect example. One of my favorite foods is really, really good sushi. Okay, really good. Like high quality Japanese uni and otoro, and just really savory, amazing sushi. But we as humans, if I put myself in a situation where I ate that every single day for the rest of my life, for the first few meals it'd be good. The next few would be like not as good. I would come to a point where I would essentially not enjoy that meal. I would probably dread that meal because it's something I got used to. So, that would be a great situation where temporarily it would be as good. The first time I had that meal, oh my God, my brain would explode. I would be like, oh my God, especially if it was like, imagine like the best piece for every piece, 20 piece omakase, the best sushi you've ever had, 20 pieces. Oh my Lord. Let's say you've had that 1,000 times over. I would be like, oh my God, I have to eat that again. I probably would feel that way. You probably feel that way too. So would that be as bad as it seems? No. All it would mean is that the context is off, that I have been doing the same thing. The brain likes to have variation. I've not given it variation. I've gotten used to something that is wonderful in small doses or medium doses, but not wonderful in large doses. And so I had this experience, by the way, when I was 20 years old, and I had the honor of going on a trip called Semester at Sea. And this is when I learned this concept, but I didn't apply it that well as I have getting older, as I've gotten more wisdom. And I learned the same lesson. I use the sushi example because most people can kind of understand that if you like sushi. But I had this experience when I was 20 years old. I had a friend when I was actually a freshman in college who went and traveled around the world and went on a cruise ship around the world called Semester at Sea. It was through the University of Pittsburgh. And I had heard of him because I was in a fraternity and he was in my fraternity, and they said this guy LBC is gonna, come back and he's doing this boat trip around the world. I'm like, what's that? And I ended up meeting him and talking to him and decided this is amazing. I want to do this. This is at the age of 18 when I had learned about this. And so I quickly was like, I'm doing that. And I ended up, getting a scholarship and doing it when I was 20. And this is back in 1998. Analog World, went on a cruise ship around the world with 600 amazing college students. I mean, it was the trip of a lifetime. It literally, like, I'm 46 years old. It's one of the best things I've ever done, like hands down. Top 5 experiences of my life. Top 3 maybe even, outside of getting married, having kids, and that's probably up there, near there. And so I remember I was like day 80. It's a 100-day voyage. You stop in, I think it's 11 ports, 5 days in each port. There's 55 days on the water, 50 days on the water, 50 days in port. So it's 10 ports, excuse me. And so you're like in 10 countries, 5 days each, and you're on the ocean in the middle of like the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it is absolutely an amazing experience. And it's variation. You're going to new countries. You're doing all these amazing things. And it was literally like a dopamine shot in the arm every day. And you're partying. And I mean, it was really, really fun. There's like literally, if you were to like, everything I'm saying, by the way, is like partying with a bunch of college students and traveling all over the world and seeing amazing things. And I mean, and just getting life experience, everything. And you're learning on the boat from amazing professors. So literally every single thing I just said sounds amazing. I remember I had a moment 88 days into the trip, 12 days before we ported in. It was right before I went to Morocco from Italy, right? Like, as I say this now as a grown person, I'm like, dude, how awesome is that? And I remember all I wanted to do was to go home. I was bored of this amazing trip, 88 days in. And there's other people that felt the same way. And I remember I had this moment where I sat there and I said to myself, wow, if I can feel this way about this experience, I can feel this way about anything. So things are never as good or as bad as they seem. That couldn't have been better, but it didn't seem that good because I was used to it, right? And so, what I've learned, again, going through a lot of life lessons at this point of having big high highs and big low lows is they're all temporary. They all come and they all go. And I didn't have gratitude for what I had at the moment. I was just tired of it because I was used to it. And I've seen this like with friends who get used to their new money or used to their new business success. And that becomes normal, and then they just want more. And it becomes this like game of like wanting more, as opposed to just kind of taking a step back, settling into the moment, and just being like, dude, this is going to be gone. This is a fleeting experience. It's a fleeting moment. I might want something different because I'm used to it, but I should have gratitude for the great stuff I have in my life. I should have gratitude for the less great stuff I have in my life because I'm probably learning something from it. And it's with that gratitude, it really is where I think the answer is for all this. It's having gratitude for the hard things and gratitude for the great things. Because again, they're temporary and they're never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem, right? And now someone might say, well, Darius, what if I have like terminal cancer? And I don't have that, so I don't have that experience. But what I've found with friends of mine that have it is they tend to find gratitude in the fact that their time is then limited. They then know that every experience they have is one last time that they're probably going to have that experience. So they lean in harder to it, and they enjoy the things that we don't necessarily enjoy when we're kind of taking for granted the fact that time is limited, but we act as that it's unlimited. And so, when I look at myself and what I've learned from these experiences is that when I go into the next thing, and there'll always be a next thing, when I go into that next thing and want to do something new or want to do something different, that I understand that things may not go my way, but I'll learn from them. Things may go my way, and I'm not going to take them for granted because they're probably going to go away at some point, and some other new problem will come in that I'm going to need to solve. And for me, it's around like, how can I show up to be myself in all those moments, good, bad, or indifferent, to actually create outcomes that lead me to the next outcome where I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm becoming a better version of myself, so that I can enjoy the game of life. And not being attached to, am I in first place? Am I going to win the thing? But really, am I going to be within the game and be consistent within the game and be someone people can count on within the game to show up, live my talents, express myself, and make the game better for everyone else? And when we come at life, I think from a position of outcome, which is what we're talking about, where things need to be as good as they seem or as bad as they seem, and approach life more from the position of, I want to serve others with my gifts. I think it's then that we truly elevate to a different level where gratitude can settle in, because it's a binary question. Am I serving others with my gift? Yes or no? And if I'm serving others with my gift, how can I do more of that? Because then I'm living outside of my own needs and wants. I'm giving to others. And I think it's when we are doing that like wholeheartedly, which, by the way, I'm not perfect at. I live in the lack, and I have a need to win. And these are all the things the imperfect Darius shows up all the time. But when the perfect Darius shows up, as rare as he does, it's around serving others. It's around pouring into others. It's around living my gifts. It's around making lives better around me selflessly with purpose, that I'm able to create exponential outcomes, because it's around lighting other candles, as my friend Yannick Silver says, to create a better world around me that I want to live within, for my children, for my friends, for my family, and to do it without being attached to the outcome. So I want to leave you with that today. Things are never as good or as bad as they seem. Don't be attached to the outcome. Pour into others, live your gifts, serve others, and the rest just kind of takes care of itself. Until next time, peace out. We love you. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on. so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.